word is taken from Psalms 1. Happy are those who do not follow the advice of the wicked, or take the path that sinners tread, or sit in the seat of scoffers. But their delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law they meditate day and night. They are like trees planted by streams of water, which yield their fruit in its season, and their leaves do not wither. In all that they do, they prosper. The wicked are not so, but they are like chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord watches over the way of the righteous. The way of the wicked will perish.
The runners started the race. They came up out of their stance. They were straining. They were struggling to go down the track to see which one of them could be the first across the finish line in the 100-meter dash. As they got down the track, they were almost even with each other, all of them keeping the same pace as they were stressing and straining in order to run this race to the best of their ability. They were on the way. Happy are those who. Perhaps you've heard this phrase if you're a scholar of the New Testament, because in the book of Matthew, in the Beatitudes, Jesus said, happy are you when? I wonder if Jesus read the Psalms. Psalms number 1, the first psalm, starts out with these words. Happy are you. Happy are those who do not take counsel with those who are against the ways of God, who did not take the path or the way of sinners, or who do not sit with scoffers. Well, basically, this first line is saying that you're not going to be very happy. You're not going to be content. You're not going to be able to feel that your life has any fullness to it if you're missing the mark, if you're doing all these things that reject God and God's presence. In fact, this very first psalm, this very first line, is in many ways somewhat un-American, because it does not condone or lift up the concept of self-sufficiency, of rejecting God, of saying, I don't need any help, I don't need anybody, I can do it myself. And it says, happy are those who do not go off in the way of trying to make it all by themselves. During the season of Lent, we had the theme, busy, reconnecting to an unhurried God. In a way, this first verse reminds us of that busyness of keeping ourselves away from the God of love, the God of life, the God of fullness. Because it has all these action verbs. It's not translated this way in the New Revised Standard Version, but happy are those who take counsel or get together with other people. Happy are those who walk, who take their energy and try to create their own life, who miss the mark. The word for sin, Hebrew and Greek, miss the mark. Happy are those who sit and spend all their energy and say, well, life's not very fair, life's not going well, those folks aren't trying hard enough. All these action words are like keeping ourselves busy. Next verse says, happy are those who do not, but happy are those who delight in the law of the Lord, and on God's law they meditate day and night. Doesn't that sound like a lot of fun? Meditating on God's law day and night, 24 hours a day, just meditating on God's law. Meditate. Taking awareness of, focusing on, paying attention, listening, meditating, just simply spending time with God's law. Well, what? The word in Hebrew is Torah, And Torah typically refers to the first 5 books of what we call the Old Testament. That's the Torah. So maybe that means that we're supposed to only read the Torah and just meditate and focus on those first 5 books. Well, within those first 5 books, there are mere 613 laws. Maybe we ought to just take those laws and meditate on them. Just think through those. That'd take us a good long while, wouldn't it? Even if we hit that 24/7, we're going to spend a little bit of time getting all through 613. Well, I suppose not only are we supposed to meditate on them, we're probably supposed to follow them. Of course, a lot of us are in trouble because one of the laws said you're not to wear clothing that's made out of more than one type of cloth or fabric. So if you got on polyester, you're kind of in trouble. Sorry, or any kind of combination cloth. Well, so what is this about anyhow? I mean, maybe if we memorize them, we could just walk around saying, "Thou shalt not." Well, the word Torah doesn't really refer just to the first 5 books of the Bible. The word Torah talks about instruction or guidance or way of living. Happy are those who delight in focusing on God's ways of living and loving and being. A little distinction between verse 1 of that busyness and verse 2, delight in meditating. It's all about paying attention to the source of life. Now, maybe you saw today's paper. And in today's paper, there was an article about church being held in a bar. Yes.
Amen.
and this is happening a lot. But another article were about people who identify themselves as atheists. Now, I thought it was interesting because they get together for church. Now, they don't get together for church. They say, Wichita, atheist, anybody welcome, you can go and eat together. They say they don't talk about God or not God necessarily. Well, we don't always talk about God when we're together either. Well, in church we typically do. And try to mention Jesus. But I thought this was fascinating. And maybe we hear verse 1 and we say, oh, it's all about those people who don't believe in God. Well, I don't have a huge problem with people who identify themselves as agnostic or atheist. Now, I know you have a problem with me not having a problem with them, but I really don't. My concern is more for those of us who get caught up in the way of saying, we don't need anybody to help us. Neither God, nor human beings, nor creation. I think the psalmist is inviting us to think carefully about what we need to live. When we really focus on life as a gift, as God's love is giving us God's self, each other, our community, our friends, our loved ones, our creation, when we understand all that we are and do and have is a gift of God, of the universe, of the divine, of the holy, then we enter into life and we are like a tree planted by the water. We will flourish and produce fruit. Our leaves will not wither. And then comes this wonderful line, they who meditate on God's laws day and night will be like trees planted by the water, and they will prosper. Oh, goody, the prosperity gospel. If we just believe in God, then we'll all be billionaires. Actually, the word for prosper is, we will find a sense of realness, meaningfulness, purpose, value in life. But if we're like those who go off on their own, who say, I'm going to take care of myself, I don't need anybody, I don't need anything. In fact, the best way to get ahead is walk on top of other people. Then we'll be like chaff blowing like the wind. I loved it at 8:30. I was getting ready to talk about this and saying it'll be just like helicopters driving through the wheat fields. I meant combines. It's strange how this mind doesn't work. We all know that image. We see the combines, I almost said it again, we see the combines driving through the field and that chaff coming out. It's just blowing all over. Those who get busy, those who reject their need for help from God or anybody else are like that, blown to and fro. What's this next verse about, though? That therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. Well, we have lots of trouble with these words, judgment and righteous. We think, oh, well, that means only people who are perfectly holy, which is probably not accurate. It's really talking about being in right relationship with God, with each other, with ourselves, and with creation. Therefore, we want to be in community. Those who have no need of God or others find themselves drifting around. They will not stand in the community of those who are connected with God, with love, and with each other. Because God watches over the way of those who live with justice, peace, and mercy. But the way of the wicked will perish. Doesn't necessarily mean die. It simply means that the way of those who reject anything will often find themselves extremely alone. Now, that's not to say that if we trust in God, we won't find ourselves feeling alone. But it is to say that if we trust in God and open ourselves to God's love in each other, we can find the ability to go on the way. Just like that race, they were on their way. Suddenly, even though they were almost even with each other, one of the runners tripped over his own feet, went crashing to the track, and began wailing and crying, crumpled in a heap. And the other runners slowed down and turned around and looked, and almost as if they'd chatted amongst themselves, they came to a stop, turned around and went back, and helped this sobbing little boy up. And then they linked arms and walked down the rest of the track and crossed the finish line together. And you say, no, John, that's a wonderful story. We've heard it before. We know it's about Special Olympics. So it doesn't have to be what, it's not about real life. Well, maybe it is. Maybe they know more than a lot of the rest of us do. Psalms 1 invites us to understand we need God, we need each other. What if I told you that there was a 71% opportunity for you to do much better in life? 71%, guaranteed. 71%. And you don't have to put in a lot of extra effort for it. In fact, it'll make your life easier. 71%. That sounds like a pretty good bet, doesn't it? Well, scientists have found out that when geese fly in a V formation, where there's a lead and they V out and they switch around and different gooses take the lead. They found out that that group of geese can fly 71% further than a geese flying by itself. 71% further by flying together in community and sharing the load. So maybe those kids on the track and those geese in the air and the God of all creation and goodness have something to tell the rest of us. And we're going to sing that. And we need to be just like the tree planted by the water. We shall not be moved. That's not to say that we won't find ourselves pushed and shoved, but we will never be moved out of God's gracious goodness. Just like a tree planted by the water, we shall not be moved.
Would you stand and join us? This closing hymn, I shall not be moved. Take you back a few years.
Glory, hallelujah.
This is a little different. Okay, let's do the chorus. Here we go. Back day.